In this video, I am going to show you step-by-step how to pack the perfect carry-on bag efficiently after 10 plus years of traveling carry-on only. Now, in case you're new here, hi, I'm Christina from happytowander.com. And this is my packing channel dedicated to tried and true packing tips and gear reviews. So be sure to like and subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. And be sure to stick around until the end for a free carry-on only packing list. All right, now let's begin with step 1, which is vetting your bag. In order to pack as efficiently as possible, we need to know what we're working with. So go ahead and grab your carry-on bag now. And of course, make sure it is within the allowable dimensions of your specific airline, because annoyingly, it does vary from airline to airline, and the rules might have changed since the last time you flew. For the sake of thoroughness though, in this video, I am going to show you my personal system I use with both a suitcase and also a backpack. Let me know in the comments which team you're on. For the suitcase, I will be using my trusty DELSEY Chatelet Air, which appears in pretty much all my videos because this is my beautiful girl that I bring on pretty much every trip. And for the backpack, we have this beauty here from tomtoc, who are the generous sponsors of this week's video. And this one right here is the 40-liter Ripstop Navigator T66 lightweight travel backpack in green. More on this one later. So with your bag chosen, very important, before you put anything in it, make sure to give it a once-over. So what I would really recommend is testing all the zippers, making sure all the zippers work, looking at all the pockets to make sure everything's in good working condition. Make sure you're also testing the handle and identify any nooks and crannies so that you can pack more efficiently and make the most of this space later on. Even if it's a backpack, I would do the same. So make sure all the zippers are functional and make sure none of the handles are broken. All right, now let's move on to step 2, which is to organize all your items. People usually differ on what system they like to use. For me personally, I like organizing based on tops, bottoms, and underwear/socks. Whereas some other people might prefer to organize by outfit or day. Let me know in the comments which system you go by, but I personally really like organizing based on the type of garment, just because I reuse and mix and match different tops and bottoms all the time, and find that quite crucial for when you're packing light. Here is the ultra simple breakdown for what I would bring at minimum in any carry-on only situation. Feel free to adjust and adapt based on how much space you have, but go through your wardrobe now and choose at least 3 tops, including 1 casual, 1 dressier, and 1 warmer. 3 bottoms, including 1 casual, 1 dressier, and leggings. Enough socks and underwear for each day of the trip. 1 set of pajamas. And 1 coat or jacket. At this point, what might be smart is actually pulling some of the heavier items out to assemble your ideal airport outfit. That way you save a bit of space when you're traveling carry-on only. For an airport outfit, I usually like to go for dark bottoms because I constantly spill stuff on the plane. And I also like packing breathable fabrics like merino wool and cotton just to make sure I'm not sweating like crazy on board. Something else that I would recommend you do is actually go through your clothing as well and pull out an emergency backup outfit that you put in your personal item, because unfortunately these days airlines are so greedy that is the only bag that is guaranteed to make it on board with you. And if you're curious about how to pack the perfect personal item bag, that video will be coming next month, so be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss that. And next up, we have toiletries. I tend to actually pack these in my personal item just because, again, if my bag gets lost or checked, I want to make sure I have my toiletries with me, and I just like to have them easily at hand when I'm going through airport security. Now, something I would strongly recommend is to actually pack your toiletries the morning of. So this is a trick that I swear by to ensure that I never forget any essentials. Because if I'm doing my morning routine, basically I just use everything I need and then I put it straight into the bag, and that way anything that I know is an essential is going into the toiletries bag. If you're too type A for this and you worry you want to pre-pack in advance, then another thing you can do is just pack all your toiletries and then get ready out of this bag the morning of your trip. And that way, if you are missing anything essential, you're going to be able to remember it as you're going through your routine. For me, I do like putting everything in their own little bottles. Depending on the length of your trip, you might not actually need 100 milliliter bottles like this. Oftentimes 50 liters or less is going to be perfectly fine for a shorter trip. And then what I do is I put them in their own little Ziploc bag, because you never know, oil cleansers of all kinds can explode. So it's good to kind of keep them separated from the rest of your stuff. And some airports can be really strict with the type of bag you use. So certain airports in Europe, for instance, don't like reusable bags like this. They prefer that you put it in a Ziploc. So that's why I do that. Once you have all the things that you're planning on packing organized, we are ready to then move on to step 3, which is to choose and fill your packing cubes. Now, if you've been on my channel before, then you'll know that I am a die-hard packing cube enthusiast, and I think the best way to prove this is by showing you my giant box of packing cubes. And we've recently become a label maker household, so you can see packing cubes. Boom. I have loads of different ones. I just love packing cubes because they help you stay organized, and controversially, some people might not agree, I do actually think they help you save space, which is something that I've previously tested in this video. If you don't feel like you need them, then that is totally fine, but in this video, I'm gonna show you how to use packing cubes so that you can pack more efficiently. Now, if you have a lot of packing cubes to choose from, like I clearly do, then a little trick that I would recommend is you can kind of play around and see which packing cubes perfectly fit. As you can see, this wouldn't be the optimal use of space. And if you're planning a longer trip and you're trying to travel carry-on only, something that you might want to look into are compression packing cubes like these ones that actually have 2 sets of zippers. And then that way that's going to compress everything down, make everything easier to zip. Usually for my suitcase, the arrangement I tend to go for are 2 larger packing cubes on this side, one for tops and one for bottoms. And then I'll have a smaller packing cube on this side with my undergarments, along with other miscellaneous items like my hair straightener, shoes, things like that. Now with backpacks, you can, of course, kind of approximate which packing cubes are going to be the best fit. But for a more seamless solution, you can look into systems that are designed to work together. Like this tomtoc Light T02 packing cube set that fits seamlessly with the Navigator T66 backpack. So once you've decided which cubes you're going to use, it's time to fill them up. And I'm going to demonstrate using these cubes just because they fit my packing system perfectly. Now, there are 3 that come in this set. First of all, this 15 to 10 liter Space Saver compression cube, this 8 liter Clean Keeper cube, and this 3 liter Easy Carrier cube that you can use for smaller garments like undergarments and socks. And what's cool is you can even attach a strap on this and then it can become a sling. What I love about these cubes is they have a lot of great features. All 3 are made with an odor-resistant Silver Plus fabric that keeps clothes fresh. And they also have super smooth YKK zippers and are made out of this great water-repellent material. So just throwing my bottoms in here. As you can see, this packing cube has a 15 liter capacity, but it also has a double zipper system. So that's going to come in really handy when we want to save space. Then as you can see, once you start using the double zippers, that is going to condense this significantly. Get one very satisfying break. There we go. Now we can do the same for our tops. Let me know if you're team roll or team fold in the comments. I feel like this is always a very controversial topic. Here's another fun crochet top that my mom made. She really liked the comments from last time, so feel free to send her more compliments for this one. And again, bulkier ones you can just fold on top. There we go. And then we've got my socks and underwear in here. Now, once you've filled all your packing cubes, it's time to move on to the next step, which is to fill your bag. As I mentioned, these tomtoc T02 packing cubes do fit perfectly in this backpack, so let's just fill them in now. I have to say, this bag is a tank. I brought it with me on some recent trips to both Peru and also southern Italy, and honestly, I fell in love. As you can see, this top section actually opens up in a clamshell style, which is quite rare for backpacks, and so you can pack it like a suitcase and just have everything easily at hand. So again, these cubes are designed to go inside seamlessly, so you can see that magic at work now. And there's even space for toiletries as well. And there you go. On top of that, this backpack is loaded with a lot of travel-friendly features, like this pocket here for any wallets and passports. My passport cover even perfectly matches the color of this backpack, so I'd say it was meant to be. There is also a separate laptop compartment as well. I usually pack my laptop in my personal item, but if you wanted to pack it, if you're a one bagger, for instance, then you can just put your laptop. There's also a separate slot here for an iPad or an e-reader, and cords as well, which I think is so cool. And most importantly, slots on the side for water bottles and even wine bottles. And what's great is despite being spacious enough to be a carry-on, it's also just small enough that you can get away with it being your day bag. Now, if you have space for an extra pair of shoes, then I recommend putting those shoes in a nice shoe bag. This one is also from tomtoc, actually. And it has the same perks as the cubes, like the machine washability, premium zippers, plus a quick pull design. So lay that on top and you are good to go. Alrighty, thanks again to tomtoc for sponsoring this week's video. You can check out the description for links to all the products shown, along with a discount code as well. All right, now let's go through how we'd adapt this process for a suitcase. Now with suitcases, our approach does need one extra bonus step, which, as we discussed earlier, involves identifying those awkward gaps that are in the suitcase and filling them to maximize the space. I find some really great things to fit into these gaps include hair tools like a hair straightener, as well as any chargers for said hair tools. Shoes as well are really great for these slots. Or you can also take a slim packing cube with smaller items like underwear and socks. Those tend to fit really well into these little crevices as well. Now I have to say, if you're really short on space, another bit of dead space that you can use are the insides of your shoes. Sorry, my shoes are so filthy. But you can fit socks in there, maybe random chargers, although I would advise putting it in a little bag so that it's not going directly in the shoes. Another trick for shoes that some people swear by is actually aligning them to the edges of the suitcase to maximize space. I don't really think that's necessary. I usually just throw it in a bag and then kind of fit it wherever I can. And with the rest, you can just fill it up with the packing cubes that you decided on before. And if you are packing your toiletries in your carry-on rather than your personal item, I would recommend putting it somewhere it's not likely to get smushed and crushed. So I personally like to kind of nest it between all the other awkward items here. And you'll notice that there is still actually quite a bit of space. I could easily fit in another pair of shoes and even a jacket. But unless you aren't planning on buying anything at all, any souvenirs, nothing on the other side, it does make sense for you to keep a little bit of space just in case you want to pick anything up. So, moment of truth. Boom. Now, as a bonus tip, if you are traveling carry-on only, but you might need a bit more stuff, a really great tip I learned from one of you, Rebecca, in the comments, is I travel to my destination with just a personal item, and at my destination, I buy a thrifted suitcase and check it on the way home. I buy whatever I want, and in the US and Canada, I order items to pick up at the store or deliver to an Amazon locker. So this is a really great idea if there are random essentials that you feel like you'll need on the other side, but are too big to pack in a carry-on suitcase. I think that's a really genius tip. So thanks a lot, Rebecca, for sharing that. And if you have any more awesome tips like this, be sure to comment because, again, I love learning from you. All right, now let's move on to a crucial step that a lot of people miss, and that is to audit for weight and size. First, you want to put it through the zip test. So you definitely want to make sure that all the zippers work. Ideally, what you're trying to avoid is a situation where it'll only close if you sit on it and you're really, really stressed out, because at the end of the day, you are probably going to have to zip and unzip your carry-on bag several times throughout your journey. So you want to make sure you can do it easily. All clear? And do the same with your backpack as well. I know that they're not as difficult to zip shut as suitcases, but you still want to make sure you're running those tests and making sure everything zips up perfectly. Now, if there are weight restrictions with your flight and you are worried that they're going to enforce them, then you should probably weigh your bag at this point. And in addition to it being within the weight limits that your airline has given you, you also want to put it through something I call the lift test, okay? So you want to make sure you're actually able to lift this bag, because in reality, you're going to have to do that several times throughout your journey. So firstly, can you comfortably lift the bag, like if you're getting it off of a baggage conveyor belt, for instance, or potentially out of the trunk of your car? And then you're going to want to see if you can lift it above your head, like in a situation where you're putting it in an overhead compartment. I feel so strong. And if you are bringing a backpack as your carry-on item, an additional test that you want to put it through is something called the wear test, meaning you can comfortably wear this on your back. And it might seem like overkill, but I would actually advise bringing this out on a walk with you if you can, with it fully packed. Because at the end of the day, when you bring a carry-on bag to the airport, it's not a short amount of time that you're going to be wearing this bag. When you're in the airport, you're going to be doing a decent amount of walking. So if you go for a 30-minute walk and this is already starting to hurt your back, then that is probably your sign that you should remove a few items. Now, once your bag has passed all these tests, it's time to move on to the final step that includes a bunch of smaller tasks kind of bundled together. And a lot of people miss these, so the final step is simply additional security and safety measures. I have mentioned this before in other videos, but a few safety measures that you want to include. Firstly, you should make sure that you have some kind of AirTag or tracking device in here. So I've got a handy dandy Chipolo, and I'm going to put an AirTag in this suitcase as well. Next up, I would recommend putting your contact information on the inside of your suitcase as well, just in case your luggage tag gets lost. That way somebody can actually find your contact information when they open up your suitcase. And yes, I would recommend putting more than just your Instagram handle, but for the sake of this video, that's what I'm putting. Next, you want to make sure that your luggage tag doesn't have any sensitive information on it that you wouldn't want a stranger just reading off of your luggage tag. So for me personally, I always just put my email and my name. There's no reason for any stranger at the airport to need my full address or even my phone number, because at the end of the day, they just need one way of getting in contact with you. And to me, email feels the safest, but you can also put your phone number if you don't mind. In an ideal situation, you might even have a luggage tag that has a flap that can conceal your information. Another great tip for keeping your information safe, again, that I learned from the comments from one of you, is from Sue, who says she puts the paper with her information backwards in the baggage tag. Then she writes information on back so that airport staff can take the card out and read it, but it isn't visible to just anyone. So thanks, Sue, for that great tip. And finally, very important, make sure you actually get photos of the inside and outside of your bag as well, just in case it does get gate checked or anything like that. And that way you can prove any damage that occurred in transit. And if you pack things in a particular way, if you have photos on the inside, then you can remember what was inside and also how you packed it. All right, thanks so much for watching. You can check this link here for that free carry-on packing list that I promised. And be sure to like and subscribe for more packing videos just like this one. I'll see you next time. Bye.